Straight from Montreal, Canada. I'm Nu-Trix, and today we're looking into the Korg SQ1 step sequencer. Now this is a portable device, a little box here, all made of metal, very solid, that is a step sequencer. Actually, it can be two step sequencer because you have two rows of step sequencer, the A and B, and you have two outputs to control two sets of triggers and CVs. And I know that most people who buy this, they buy it because they want to combine it with a semi-modular synthesizer or a modular synthesizer or any type of modules. But it also can send MIDI. There's a MIDI out and there's a USB out. So this can also be sent to a virtual synth if you want. So a step sequencer that can do all of this into a small box that runs on battery. This is actually a pretty good deal and it's fairly affordable. Let's just dive into what it can do. I'm going to test it out with my MS-20 Mini from Korg. It's the same, it's meant to go together, but this could work with anything that has a CV gate into it that can receive CV and gate. And I'll show you also how you can change the CV and gate so it can be adapted to your specific synthesizer, because not all synthesizers use the same voltage or the same way to use the voltage to control values. So this also can adapt to that. So let's just go to a close-up of the features and explain a little bit of how this is built. So what do we have here? You see, it's a very small package. We have in this thing, simple, you have a play button, the stop. You have, you can enter values for each of these. So basically turn them on or off. You can change the value here. You see each of these, they have a little knob. You have the speed of the sequence. You have the duty cycle. I'll come back on the duty cycle. You've got your connectors for the little bits, which is another type of device that is kind of modular, but I would say for kids. I actually have one here, but I don't have the interface to connect to CV and gates, but one day I'll do it. You have the output here. You have the CV gate, so A and B, and you get in and out sync. So you can sync to a, sync compatible device. Could be a Volca or anything else. Again, depending on the device you're syncing to, they don't all have the same type of speed of sync, but you can change this with some of the features. There's some of the internal values you can change to be able to use it with a different brand than a Korg sync if you want to. And here you've got the big knob to change the way you're going to use these 16 steps. And we'll go into depth in that. And here you have different ways of, when you click here, you're basically changing these buttons here, how you want to use them. In this case is the gate on off, active steps, you can deactivate some of them, slide and step jump, and I'll explain that. There's also function here. You see function, when you press here, you're going to have access to these sub features here. So you got the voltage, the range for CVA and B. So if you want to control a different synthesizer, or if you want to adapt the CV here coming out, A and B, to the synthesizer that you have to verify that your synthesizer is either running 1 volt per octave, 2 volt per octave, 5 volt per octave, or 8 volt, which is hertz per volt. And you press function, and then in my case, I'm 8 volt hertz per volt, which is the one for the MS-20. And if I'm like this, now you see I have it for the 2 here, because in here I'm using 2 separate A and B, and this I'm only using 1. It's A and B is following A, so it's always the same one. So this, I could control 2 different type of voltage, which is interesting. It could control something else. So it's your choice. Let's say I'm going to put them at the same. And then here you've got linear, minor, major, and chroma. This is basically the scaling for when you're going to change these value here for the CV gate to see if you want to control pitch. Well, you can kind of quantize the value of the knob. If you don't want this, you press linear and it's going to be all values are possible. But if we press minor, it's going to jump to only values that equal, knowing that you're in 8 volt, that equals notes that are in the minor scale or major scale or chromatic scale. So it's your choice. In my case, I put it on minor. It's just easier to build something that, it's quicker and easier to make something that sounds musically good, in my view. Okay, so now let's connect this. I'm going to take the gate out A here, and I'm going to look for a gate in, and it's going to be a trigger. So I'm going to use a trigger in. So you see right away it receives something it would like to play. So it does send a play button. So what the trigger does, it says now. It just sends a message of an on-off. It's basically just a value of electricity that goes up and down and say on. So it's kind of a square wave if you want. That's the gate. It opens up to say now. There's no value in the amount of on or off because it's just like it's on and off. There's no velocity in this. It's just open the envelope or not. So you're triggering, in this case, I'm triggering the envelope that triggers the envelope for the amplitude and for the filter. So that's what I have. If I turn them off, let's say I'm going to... These are steps that are not being used. If I change to active steps, now it doesn't really sound anything, but you're jumping. You see, it doesn't play this one. It jumps right to the other one. It's going to be easier if I add CV also. So the CV, I'm going to take a yellow cable. CV here. CV will be connected to, I will call it, I'm going to go for voltage for the VCO 1 and 2. So it's going to be changing the pitch of 1 and 2. So now if I press play, this one now sends the information of these knobs here. And they're in minor mode. So if I put them low, if I put them higher, and I still can come back here and so I can still do my synthesis in my synthesizer, but I have this now happening. So if we go back to active steps, if I turn these, it just plays these. It jumps right over them. It does not play at them. It doesn't play silences. That's what I mean. Slide, you're basically gonna, it's kind of a tie, if you want, from this one to this one. And step jump, you can just go, what you're playing, you're pressing on where you want it to jump to. So you can, in real time, you can actually perform kind of a sequencer if you want. You can, and especially if you see now they're off, you can press to see. You want them to play together, and you don't hear anything. It just, the next step will be the one you're pressing on, and again you go there. Here you can just like, and you get your silence. So I could take another one for this one here. I could say, well, it's going to be a different envelope, and it's going to be, so right now here, if I want to be clear, you have, this is playing A and B in separate mode in parallel. This one is, they're playing parallel but back and front. Go back, front and back. This one plays the A, then it goes into the B. And this one goes alternating between A and B. It jumps. So all of these now, when you're in these two first one, you only use the CVA. The CVB is not used. If you go into this one, because both are running, now CVB is useful, and this one also. If you go CV duty, the first one here is the notes. The difference now is that here you control the gate duty or the duty cycle. And I'm going to explain it by going back to this one here. Okay, now you're hearing all the steps that have the same shape. Dun, 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 dun. They have the same square. You're basically changing the length of the gate or the shape of the gate. The on-off value. You have a normal shape of a square. And now you're having the top end of the on to be shorter. So the time of the gate is shorter, and as you go higher, the gate is shorter and shorter to a point that it becomes. So this could be interesting if you would like to have in your song. If you would like this gate to change, and remember, it's not always for the envelope, it could be for something else. So if you would like this to change, when you're in this mode, the CV duty here, or the CV slide, the CV duty, for example, now these are the duty cycle. So if I put them all at the same place, they have all the same. Okay, they have about the same value. So I could have one that goes really down. And I have that goes really short. So you can play with that and have the duty or the length of the cycle of the gate, the length of the holding of the gate, the on gate, change the shape and the length of it. So it could be maybe more valuable in a different place, but right now in the envelope that it creates a weird way of the envelope to react, and you could create a better envelope to have it react the way you want. But this is the kind of logic what this is for. I'm going to go back to this one here. We have this one playing. Now what's interesting is you have a second CV gate. I'm going to have a gate that triggers the envelope for the filter, just for the second envelope here. Now what I'm doing now is I'm triggering the envelope 1, actually the envelope 1, and then I'm sending the envelope 1 to control the cutoff. So now this one only... So this is controlling the envelope for the filter. So that's the logic of all of this. Is you can really go into different places. It all depends on what you have in your synthesizer that can support it. So I'm looking for the right place. Now, of course, when you start doing this, the problem is you'll go, I wish I had more control. I wish I had this input, trigger in, CV in, that I don't. Like in this, like any synth I use that has CV and gate, I'm happy that they have what it has, but I always wish for more. You know, I always wish that I could combine these two. So that's where you get into modular. You buy these modular, you combine, and then you send to this. This is really what's cool about this, is that this little sequencer can be controlling about anything that your synthesizer can support. And I haven't done it yet with you guys, but you can actually sync it to your, in this case, I've got to sync out of this, sync out into sync in. And this will trigger this one as in sync with the rest of my gear. So that's it. That's the SQ1 in a nutshell, what you can do with it, example of how using it. If you have any question, put them below. If you like what I'm doing, share it with your friends. Stay safe, make my music, and see you soon. Bye.